All right, we're live. Say hello.
Hey, hi everyone. How are you?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Alex Vidal, president of Related ISG International Realty and host of the show you're watching today, The Closer Club, episode number 61.
Wow.
If you can believe it. This is Katrina Campins. Katrina, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So if you don't know who Katrina Campins is, let me share with you a little bit about who she is. Katrina started flipping properties at 17 years old, which was really impressive.
Thank you.
Got her license in 1998, so 20 plus years that we've been in the business together. She starred on The Apprentice, the first season. Did you win The Apprentice, by the way?
I did not win. I got fired.
Fired by our now President Trump. You own your own company, the Campins Company, and you are one of South Florida's top brokers.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. Appreciate it.
But it's true. It's all true. So tell us a little bit about your path to where you are today.
Well, I started, like you mentioned, flipping properties at age 17, and quite frankly, I didn't know what I was doing. I really had aspirations to work on Wall Street. I wanted to be like Maria Bartiromo. You know who that is?
No,
right?
who is it?
Oh, she's I can't say bad words, right? She's like a kick-ass.
Yeah, you can absolutely.
Woman, and she's on Fox now, but she's basically, she works on Wall Street, and she has her own TV show on Fox, and that was my goal. I wanted to really just work on the New York Stock Exchange. And then I got pegged by the real estate bug, and I started flipping properties, and some little old lady gave me a chance. I had $100 to put as escrow money.
$100?
Yeah, $100.
Okay.
So
if only those days still
existed.
existed.
I know, seriously. So she let me put the money down. I flipped it to someone else, and I made good money for a 17-year-old,
sure.
right? That person ended up flipping it for 3 times what I flipped it for because I was young and didn't know what I was doing. But it really gave me this thirst for real estate because I thought, wow, this is really exciting. So I continued to study international finance and marketing at UM, used real estate to pay for my education, and then started selling real estate, and then ended up on The Apprentice.
How did you, by the way, and this is not on here, how did you end up on The Apprentice?
Interesting story. So I was very studious in college. I got a 4.0. I was obsessive compulsive, primarily because I was paying for my own education. Yeah. So I studied extra hard, and at that time, UM was really just kicking butt in football. So the football players were so focused on playing that they really didn't study as much as maybe they should have, right? So the dork in me was like, okay, I'll tutor you because the more I teach, the more I learn. And that's how it started. And then one of those football players, actually completely different football player, saw an ad on the Today Show. And Brett, he's probably watching this on Instagram because he makes fun of me on his radio show all the time. And so
who is it?
It's Brett Romberg.
Okay.
So Brett, I did not tutor Brett. Brett's smarter than I am. Yes, I said it, Brett.
Uh-oh.
So Brett actually told me, and I'm going all over the place, but he wanted to marry a Cuban girl. So I introduced him to my best friend in college, and now they have 3 daughters. Yes, you're welcome. And so he saw an ad on the Today Show for The Apprentice, and he told me about it. And honestly, at that time, I thought to myself, this is going to destroy everything I've tried so hard to prove as a serious businesswoman. But then, I ended up as Omarosa's roommate, and Mark Burnett convinced me to do it, and I'm so glad because it changed my whole life.
So I didn't want to assume I knew the answer to this question. If you were to look back in your business, and I think I know the answer to this, was there a breakthrough moment that really made your career take off? Yeah. And what can our viewers learn from that?
Well, being on the first season of The Apprentice was definitely my breakthrough moment. I was very young. I was 23 at the time, and I think when you're 23, you have... you just don't have as much fear as you do in your 30s about, am I doing this right? Am I not? You just go with the flow.
Absolutely.
And I think that genuine feeling is what led to the success that I was able to attain as a result of The Apprentice. But I also wanted to prove to myself that I could start my own brokerage, that I could start my own business. As you know, it's not a walk in the park. So I knew that television takes you in and spits you out, And I've been on and off TV now for decades. But I wanted to really have an established business, and that's when I started the Campins Company after the first season of The Apprentice.
What I love most about that is when you don't have those anchors that you can take risk. And I tell that to my son. I have a 20. He's about to be 22 in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I'm 41.
Wow.
And I tell him the game changes. I had him at 19. The game changes as soon as you start having kids and a wife and all that. That all of a sudden other people are depending on you. You can't take as many risks as you once could.
100%.
Now, what was it like when you first got your license? And what are the top 3 things you did to reach that top producer status?
Well, when I first got my license, as you know, people don't help you in this industry because you're technically a competitor unless you're on your team, right? Their team. And so everybody promised to help me and no one did. So So I kind of had to learn the ropes on my own, and I started doing small little rentals. I would go to different cocktail events, even though I couldn't even drink, really at the time when I was 17. And I literally would beg my friends' parents to give me the opportunity and refer deals to me.
Okay. Little
rentals. And that's how I started, and then somebody gave me the opportunity to actually list and sell their house in the Gables. And then I did a great job because I'm, obsessive compulsive as far as just doing the right thing.
And you take great pride in your work.
I do. Maybe I'm a workaholic. I have to tone it down, quite frankly. But so I did, that first transaction, and then from there, things just started to progress.
It's interesting. So we were sharing that I had interviewed Ryan Searham before on the show, and he did the same thing. He started with rentals and then slowly worked his way up. But I think people in today's day and age have this ego about, I'm not going to do rentals. I'm just going to try to do.
And they want instant gratification in this business. I have so many people that tell me they're in other industries, primarily like the medical field, or they're pharmaceutical sales, or whatever it is, or hospitality, and they say, oh my God, I want to get my real estate license because you make these big commission checks. And literally, they start, or they'll be involved in a transaction with me, and they all say the same thing to me. This is exhausting. How do you do this? This is a very difficult industry, and it is because it's very emotional. You get calls from 7 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at night, and you really never have a break. It's 24/7.
That's right. I was just in Captiva for 4 days, working the whole time.
Yeah.
My wife kept looking at me like, you gonna put the phone down?
Yeah.
Now, if you got your license in '98, if you were starting out today, 21 years later, what's the first thing you do as a brand new agent?
Probably to get really strong on the technology front.
Okay.
I'm not really tech savvy, and most of my business, I know that this is another question you're going to ask me, even though I didn't really read the question,
That's okay.
is most of my business is referrals. So I don't advertise, I don't really market. I would say 90% of my business is just referrals and word of mouth. But what I would do if I was new is really establish myself, with the right website, with whether it's an app or whatever it is on social media, and really start to get that traction. The second thing I would do is the same thing I did at the beginning of my career, which is network like a machine.
Okay.
I networked 7 days a week.
Not with other realtors, with potential customers.
With potential customers, yeah. Although I'm very broker friendly, so I especially the brokers that have been in the industry for a very long time, I think it's important to have good broker relationships, and I do have those. But you're networking with people that can potentially buy or sell something with you, right? So
that's right. Well, because a lot of agents say, I'm going to a broker network event tonight. They're not going to give you business. The business is where the customers are, not where the other brokers. But you said something so right. Everybody needs to listen to. We always talk about our relationships with our customers. The relationships with the brokers, we were just talking about Nelson Gonzalez off camera and how great he is.
Yeah.
Those relationships are probably equally, if not more important than your customers, because it's the difference between getting deals done or not done.
And honestly, a lot of agents will choose, there's been situations, there's one now where an agent got multiple offers, and she went with me and I asked her, what was the other offer? Of course, she can't tell you. And then she's like, honestly, I dealt with you just because you're a professional, you've been doing this for a very long time, and I just don't want to babysit, the agent on the other side, or a newbie. And so it matters, it
Absolutely.
does.
Take note. All right, high-end real estate, what you're known for. So the questions we always get when it comes to high-end real estate is, there's 3 questions here. So let's start off with the first one. How and where do you find your buyers and sellers?
Most of mine are referrals. Okay. So you do a good job and someone refers you out. I would say, people always say God loves you, Katrina, and he does, because things just come to me. I'm a very positive person.
Sure.
And I just believe in, doing right by others, and then things kind of happen. And I did network a lot in my 20s to be able to now reap the benefits of those relationships. Sure. But you have to constantly network. It's a very competitive industry. Everybody's a real estate agent.
65,000 in Dade and Broward.
Oh my God. Yeah. So literally everywhere you turn, they're everywhere.
There's 4 in this room.
Yes, there are. And so you just have to network, I would say, and that's what I continue to do now, and just do a good job.
All right. So the other big thing is, okay, I got this whale, this buyer, this seller, but everybody's so afraid, especially the people that have never dealt with a high-end buyer or seller, asking these qualifying questions. What are some of the qualifying questions that you ask to all of your high net worth individuals?
That's a very tricky question, because you feel like, okay, I can't ask them certain things because you don't want to lose them as clients, but
exactly.
At the same time you want to know that they're qualified and you don't want to waste your time. So I do due diligence, on the buyers, and there's a lot of con artists in the market right now, so people do have to be careful, and it's happened to multiple people I know where, somebody comes here, they say that they're XYZ, they're using somebody else's name. So sometimes I'll ask for an ID, and some people get, if it's someone that I've never met,
Sure.
I'll ask them for identification to make sure that they are who they say they are, and so forth. And you ask for, a letter from their bank.
Okay.
Just some sellers, most sellers nowadays, actually require the buyer's information or name so that they can do their due diligence. They want to know who's coming into their home. And sometimes as a buyer's agent, you're like, I don't want to release their name, and so forth. But sometimes you have to when you're showing a $15 million house,
Sure.
for instance. And some of those will require a letter from the bank. So you just have to say, the seller requires it. I need a letter from the bank confirming that you can afford a house in the $15 million range.
And do you also use the reasoning behind, hey, there's, it's Miami, there's a lot of con artists, this is why I also need it?
100%,
Okay.
but mostly that the seller's requiring it in
Yeah.
order to
Okay.
get the showing.
Awesome. I love it. I love it because it takes the onus off of you and puts it on somebody else, right? So everybody talks about Miami or South Florida or Florida in general. They talk about the amazing weather, which we absolutely have,
Right.
the amazing tax climate that we absolutely have. What are some other things that you're telling your high net worth buyers in this case about why they should pull the trigger in South Florida?
Honestly, right now, the tax implications of setting up residency in Florida are huge.
Okay.
That's what's driving most of our business. I think anybody will tell you that from California, from New York. That's where the buyers are coming from, and they're buying big properties. They're buying $15, $20 million properties. So I think when people say, okay, the market has softened all over the country, Miami is really, truly different. South Florida, I should say,
Absolutely.
is truly different because you have such demand not only from the Latin American countries and because of the economic distress, but also because of the tax implications. Why are you going to pay such high taxes in California when technology allows you to be in another state now,
Sure.
and really function the same way that
Or
you
even
would
another country. My cousin moved to Puerto Rico, 4% flat tax rate.
as long as you're there, right? 6 months and 1 day.
6 months in 1 day. Now he's thinking, whatever. He's thinking about moving to Europe. I don't know. It's crazy. Anything to get away from taxes. So I've asked every South Florida big real estate player this question. And I'm interested to hear your feedback on this answer. If you were to give Miami an age, what would you give it? And why?
That's really such a difficult question because I was born and raised in Miami, so I love Miami, but at the same time, you have people from all walks of life. It's really such a melting pot. So I thought about this and I'm like, I think that it's probably someone with a midlife crisis.
Okay.
Like, I don't know what age, but they're definitely having a midlife crisis
Okay.
in one shape or form.
Okay. And why would you say that? Because everybody's shot lower. So, if you look
Really?
at Dora Puig, Nelson Gonzalez, Julian Johnson, Alicia Severa, Kieran Bowers, Miley Aguila, they're all like teens to 20s.
Really?
Yeah. So why midlife crisis? I got to put the pressure
Well,
on.
because I feel like Miami's established now. It's not a new city. Miami's been around for a very long time. Yes, there's a lot of new development and a lot of things that have progressed, but at the same time, people have been here for a while. There's a lot of people that are now migrating here, but people have been here for a while. But yet, everybody here is very different and unique in their own way. And I think that deep down inside, if you live in Miami, you're a different kind of person than if you live in Kansas, for instance.
Absolutely.
Or, and so I think everybody kind of goes through, I don't know, midlife crisis, no matter what age you are.
I'm 41, I hear you.
In one way, shape, or form. I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it, but Miami is very unique, and I love Miami. Anytime I leave, and I said I need a break, I yearn to come
Sure.
back to the city because I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of everything that we've accomplished here. And finally, I remember when I first started selling real estate, New Yorkers would make fun of me all the time. What do you guys do in Miami all day long? Nobody works. Everybody's on the beach. And now everybody from New York has moved here, so we have.
And they're on the beach.
And they're on the beach with their laptops.
Yeah.
It's so true, right?
So
the
true.
irony of life.
I'm in Captiva, and I'm working in Captiva. All right, lightning round. One word, very short answers. Best ROI for leads.
Best
ROI, return on investment for leads.
return on investment for leads. Oh my God.
We really
See,
didn't
I'm not-
prepare for this before.
See, I'm not a big spender on advertising, so this is an interesting question.
Okay,
to ask me.
so where do you put your money on? I don't
do-
even know if that's on here.
Well, I do direct mailers for certain farm areas, like I farm Miami Shores because I
Okay.
love Miami Shores and I live in Miami Shores, so I do direct mailing because I do believe direct mailing still works.
Sure.
You just have to be extremely consistent. It's expensive, so I make that investment in that area. As far as return, I have done ads with Facebook and Instagram, and that has generated some leads. But the best money I've ever spent has probably been on my relationships with clients, whether it's taking them out to dinner, gifts, networking. I would say personal, not so much technology, but personal.
No, and that there's it's interesting. There's that common denominator among the heavy hitters, and that's it. They put it right back into the people that have brought them the business to give them more business.
Right.
So talking about Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. What's your favorite social media platform?
Instagram, because it's very picture driven.
Got it.
Even though I have many more followers on Twitter, because you have to remember, when I did the first season of The Apprentice, we didn't have social media, so I don't have this jump start.
You timed it wrong.
I know, literally. Like, I didn't have this jump start that everybody has now. They get on TV and they have like 5 million, people following them. We didn't have that. So but what we did have shortly thereafter was Twitter. And then once President Trump started following me on Twitter, then I started to get a lot of people from other countries noticing that, because he follows very few women, and inquiring about buying in the United States as a result of that, which has been interesting because they want part of the American dream. So that's been quite interesting.
Okay, there you go. One daily practice every agent should be doing to make their business better.
To make their business better. I keep on saying networking, but I think that networking is
that's
an
it.
important part of personal relationships.
You've mentioned technology quite a few times, but you keep going back to the networking, and it's that old adage of face-to-face, belly-to-belly, palm-to-palm. I don't think that's ever going to go away. And if you do that more often, it doesn't matter what happens in technology, your business will always be there. So
100%.
we're thinking along the same lines. What % of your income do you put back into marketing or events with your customers?
What percentage? It's not really a set percentage, as opposed to like my direct mailers probably cost me like over $20,000 a year just in direct mailing, and in just one area.
Sure.
And then as far as, I always give back to, again, the clients that have bought from me, or I give a portion to charities, that I believe in, or that client's charity. I've been doing that for a long time, but it's not really a percentage. It's kind of just, and I don't just, a lot of people reach out to me for advertising, like I'm sure you do, telemarketers and stuff. I'm like, I tell them right off the bat, you're wasting your time. Like, I'm not the person, that you should be marketing to, because I don't really have a set percentage that that I reinvest back. It's kind of like what I feel at the moment, and investing in the right people. If a client wants to do an event, for instance, if it's a financial firm, I'll do that a lot with them. I'll team up with them and really invest in that, as opposed to, so I can meet new clients, so I can meet,
So you're not afraid to spend the money if you feel that there's a great return?
No.
Got it. If you could pick one way to, and I think we already know the answer to this, if you could pick only one way to prospect, what would it be? Network.
Well, I sound like
network. No. But there's common denominators here. Network. Spend time with your clients.
Yeah.
Right. And we already answered the question about what part of your business is, what % of your business is referrals and past clients. 90%.
Right.
So what's something that we'd be surprised to know about you?
Then I think what most people tell me when they meet me for the first time is that I'm much more humble than they expected, that I'm much more down to earth than they expected, because I think television is a double-edged sword, because it creates this persona, and more people want to get to know you, but at the same time it creates this sense that you're unapproachable. And so sometimes people don't call you for listings. So some people will call you, very high net worth clients will call you, which is great, but then some people buying even a $800, $900 million house won't approach you because they feel like you're, just too big time for them. And that can hurt your business, obviously, because you want to diversify. You're not going to sell a $20 million house every month. And so I would say, and when I go in for listing presentations, that I'm more, down to earth. And I think that's the way I was raised. I was raised that everybody's made out of the same fabric. You should treat everybody the same.
But you said you were raised in Miami, right? Where
I have Cuban parents.
No. So I was raised in North Miami, so we're one of the few. Where were you raised?
So we basically, I went to Palmer Trinity, down south, in the Palmetto Bay area. But my parents lived like, what is it called now, Westchester or Tendo, typical. We didn't even have a road. My dad built the house, and literally we had dirt roads. So now that area is so developed. They have Target, they have everything you can imagine there. And then I bought my first house in Coral Gables, right next to the University of Miami. That was my first home, and an investment property in South Miami. And then I moved to the beach and lived in the beach for a while. And now I'm in Miami Shores and so forth. So
I love the Shores. My sister lives in the Shores.
I love it. It's so family oriented, great for kids. Love it.
Cool. Last question, and then you're off the hook. Book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation for the audience?
Book. Okay, so I've said this before, and people think, because I'm on a real estate podcast, right? But yet the books that I read are not real estate based.
That's
mostly like quantum physics books or human behavioral books, and it's because I think that goes hand in hand. We're at a very, very personal business.
Sure.
So I want to understand human behavior. So I'd rather study human behavior and understand why people make decisions, why people do certain things, the emotions behind, big purchases, as opposed to reading necessarily about how to market myself. Because that I learned from, whether you like it or not.
So what would be a book that you've read that does that?
Quantum physics book that I've read. By the way, speaking of real estate books, I did read Barbara Corcoran's first book, which I would recommend. And I think, I always forget the name of it, but it's something like, if you don't have big boobs, wear pigtails or something like that. And I think it's something like that.
That's good. That's her book?
Yeah,
Sounds
it was
like
her first book, and I read that one. That one was good. I don't know, I have so many. I have to take a picture of some of them.
You can add it in the comments when we're done. All right, now, actually, there's one thing that we didn't discuss. You have a coaching program. So, do you want to discuss it?
So I have a Campins coaching program, and I filmed it actually while I was pregnant, and I can't believe how much content I filmed during the process. And it walks you through the ins and outs of real estate, how to begin, what to do, how to negotiate. That seems to be the most popular chapter, if you will, are the real life negotiations.
Sure.
I walk you through things that I've negotiated, how I've negotiated, and real life examples, how to choose a brokerage, just everything, contracts, and I've made it really reasonable. So you can go on campinscoaching.com and
we'll add the link in the comments.
Appreciate it. And then we're at this listing. Let's talk about the listing.
Sure. You know what? Why don't we pick up the camera and let's show them. So we're
in Fort Lauderdale at 632 Intercoastal.
Go for it.
And this is a beautiful listing. It was actually
on the water, obviously.
On the water.
There we are.
And it was actually designed by the couple and built by the couple. We're asking $4.499.
Oh, look at that. Perfect timing with the boat going by and everything.
Yeah, I planned it. So. And it's perfect for entertaining.
Yeah.
Right, it's a very family home. So now when most of the homes being built are very modern, this is very cozy and family oriented.
I love it. All right, let's go inside. Let's see what we got. I love the wood ceiling as well. That's beautiful. All right, show us around.
So take a look at the kitchen, the white kitchen.
We had to move some furniture around, so part of the chair is in the middle.
So white kitchens sell homes. If anyone's thinking of renovating, that's one of the main features because women love white kitchens.
Okay, my wife does.
Yes,
that's for
I
sure.
love white kitchens. Let me move this chair out of the way. And so this is a very nice setup because it's right off of the TV room. So while you're cooking, you can see the kids, and then the dining room is right there. Yeah, excuse the accessories.
Don't worry, we got bags everywhere. We got people filming behind the scenes.
And then you have a homework room for kids. So anybody with children, this is a great asset. And it's messy because
it's okay.
It's kids,
All right.
But they can kind of leave their mess in that area. So we'll take a look at the master.
All right. Is it first floor master?
First floor master, which is great for resale, as I'm sure you know. Oops, and here's the doggy.
Hey, was this a guy barking? No. Sorry, I almost hit you with the camera.
I just want to make sure he doesn't get out, but okay. So this is the master.
Got it. Love it. Oh, there's the other dog.
Hi. El perrito está ahí, no se va a salir, ¿verdad?
No,
No, está bien. Okay.
You want to go up?
Yeah.
Let's go up. We were lucky the dog didn't start barking until the end of the interview.
To the end. So what's really unique about this upstairs area is that it's completely set up for kids. So you actually have a room, because they have twin boys, that...
No, I have twins too.
Oh, you do?
I do, 9-year-old twins.
God bless you, because managing two...
I have 4 boys, 21, almost 22, 12, and 9-year-old twins.
Wow.
Oh, this room is sweet.
So isn't it great because you have... And then it's set up so that later on, when they get older, you can put a wall in between, and they each have their separate bathroom and closet.
Very cool. Off the water. Gonna go this way? Say hello?
Hi.
All right. And so the asking price again is?
$4.499.
$4.499. All right.
So let me just show you this area
This is amazing. Do you happen to, so the address is 632
2 Intercoastal Drive.
Intercoastal
And I
Drive.
also
Say hi,
have-
JC.
And I also have the lot next door for sale for $1,999,000. So if somebody wanted more space, and excuse, this is not a very professional tour.
No,
but
it's okay. We weren't planning this, so it worked out. There we are.
We're kind of going with the flow here.
Yeah.
And so,
All right. Katrina, any parting words for the audience as we say goodbye?
thank you for joining us. If you're thinking of getting into real estate, think again. No. If you're thinking of getting into real estate, it's an amazing industry. You just have to have a lot of patience, and you have to balance work and your personal life, which I don't do a very good job with, quite frankly. So I'm working on that myself. So that's my parting words.
There you go. Thank you, Katrina.
Bye.